Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am your host, Marty Tallman, and tonight we're getting you ready for Week 7 by tackling the latest news and injuries, team schedules, two-start pitchers, and, of course, our fab targets, which we haven't done our fab yet, so we'll be doing it on the fly. But before we hop into all of that, I want to introduce to you my co-host for this evening, Art Tornabene. Art, they have let the seniors run the show. Number one, how does that make you feel? And two, how's your weekend, buddy?
It makes me feel good. I'm going to have enough room to tell stupid stories and talk about, the fact that last night I watched a movie called The Man Who Killed Hitler and then The Bigfoot, and it was kind of awesome. And I'm hoping that my team is the team that kills Hitler and then the Bigfoot, because my fantasy baseball team's starting to climb. I think I lost in my head-to-head league this week after a tough. I had a week where I had in a points league 3 of my pitchers combined for negative 40 points, and that it's hard to win when you're starting at a negative 40 hole in a points league. But I'm feeling pretty good about where I'm doing in fantasy. Glad to be sitting here on a Sunday night chatting with you. Like you said, seniors running the place here.
We much like Paul Skeens, I got called up to be the host, so I'm super excited for that. And with that, that's my first transition into the news and notes. Paul Skeens, Pittsburgh Pirate starting pitcher, made his Major League Baseball debut at PNC Park. That is why I am rocking the Pirates hat. I watched the game, Art. First pitch was 101 miles an hour out of the gate. It was a lot of fun to watch. Overall, 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, 2 walks, 3 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. Now, the 3 earned runs, 2 of those were when he was actually out of the game. They were inherited runners that the relief pitcher gave up. The only part I didn't love is that he gave up 6 hard hit balls, but I guess when you're throwing 101 miles an hour, even if you put a barrel on it, it's going to go pretty fast. But Art, what are your thoughts on Paul Skeens' debut against your Chicago Cubs?
His pitches are electric. That fastball, you just see these. I was watching Seiya Suzuki. The fastball just zips right past him, and he just looks at the umpire, hoping the umpire's going to save him by saying it wasn't a strike. And you're just like, and we're going to be seeing a lot of that from Paul Skeens. I think his stuff looks amazing. He labored a little bit. He only got through 4 innings, 84 pitches. But there was he had a couple of walks, and he got BABIP to death a little bit in that first start. So we'll see. I mean, I don't think there's any bad news after that first start, except the fact that the Cubs bullpen blew the game for the Cubs after what you said. That inning, there was a big rain delay. So they took Skeens out. There was a long rain delay. They bring the pitchers back in. The Pirates walked 6 guys that inning. Let in 6 guys with the bases loaded or something like that. Walked 6 guys in that inning, the most allowed in one inning.
The Pirates did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Those are the inherited runners that scored. It was a crazy game. The Cubs got up, and then the bullpen gave it back to them. And, that's been the Cubs season so far. But Skeens was electric, and the fastball, it's like it's just on him so quick, even for these major league hitters. It looked like they were like just surprised it was that fast.
Yeah, they did look a little overwhelmed. Seiya Suzuki specifically. Yeah, he looked like, man, I should have stayed on the IL a few more days. Optimistically, though, Cody Bellinger is back. Suzuki is back, so we're seeing the Cubs get a little bit healthier, even though they did lose Dansby Swanson to the 15-day IL. But that seems to be a minor knee issue that it was just kind of bugging them, so might as well just nip it in the bud after getting 2 of their stars back. But Art, how do you feel about the Cubs finally getting healthy or healthier?
I think that the Cubs, and we're going to talk about the rotation in a little bit. And some of the moves that are going on with Wesneski and Kyle Hendricks coming off the list. Hendricks pitched well today against Pittsburgh.
Of course he did, because he would.
Yeah, but I mean, Pittsburgh has been really struggling lately, so I don't think that means a whole lot. But he looked good, and I had hopes for Hendricks coming into the season because he was locating very well towards the end of last season, and I thought he looked like an effective pitcher. But Wesneski, as you and I both like Wesneski because he has much better strikeout stuff than Hendricks, and it'd be nice to see him in the rotation. I just don't see them taking Hendricks out of the rotation. He's just got that senior status on the Cubs.
Yeah, it's always hard when there is a legend on the staff that's been there for so long. He has a huge contract, and this is the twilight of his career is right now, and we're kind of seeing him dwindle away. So, well, yeah, we'll get back into we'll go back to see if Hayden Wesneski's that's going to affect him too much. But let's go on to Mike Trout. So, as we all know, outfielder for the Los Angeles Angels. So he had his surgery, and he does not have a timeline at all for his left knee. So, number one, I find that a little concerning, and I'll ask you about that in a second. But what I thought was most interesting is that they gave him the opportunity to stay to get the surgery until after the season, and he would work as a designated hitter, kind of just fighting through the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And Trout said, "Nah, I'll take the surgery." Any thoughts on that?
I don't want to read more into it than I should, as like a, just as someone who's outside of the situation. I don't know. Trout has been injury, riddled over the last few seasons, and it's really, and this coming out after having the last few seasons, that long recovery from a back injury that was only supposed to last 6 weeks, and it took him out the entire season. I think that was 22 when he never came back from an injury that was only supposed to be like 6 weeks.
22.
I don't want to like cast any aspersions, but like it makes you look at that stuff like that in a new light. At least me, his not desiring to like play through it does make that look a little bit suspicious. But I don't. I'm not there. I don't know. Like he could be getting the advice that next season will be great if you get this surgery now. And I don't know. What are you thinking?
Well, I think for those that say Mike Trout doesn't care about winning, I think that kind of plays into that just a little. But overall, I mean, he had to get the surgery. His knee is way more important than an underachieving Angels team year in, year out. So I think he made the obvious right decision. I don't think there's anything about it. Now, the tougher decision are for people like me and you who may be rostering Mike Trout. Is he a cut in a standard, let's say a 12-team OC?
It's bold. I think if you're considering a cut, be aggressive and do it. Because if you say, I want to wait a couple of weeks to see if there's any more news, how long then you're just delaying this decision. And I think that with Trout, it's, be aggressive. If there's someone worth getting, go. Don't feel bad about dropping Trout. I mean, he's not like a second or third round pick. He's like he's a top 100, top 75, top 80 picker this year, but with no timeline for return. I mean, that could mean that he's back really soon if he feels well, but knee surgery, like what's the extent of the knee surgery? I don't have that much information on that. And when there's not a timeline put out, my thought is it's long.
Yep, it's scary. And so I would say, just to summarize, if you're thinking about cutting him, you do it right away. You get the stats now and you worry about it later. Don't wait a month and then cut him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's I wouldn't be scared to cut him in a league now. I mean, you might regret it, but if you don't make a bad drop, then you're not being aggressive enough. That's something I've always heard, and I think it's good advice, especially in this. And it could be a bad drop, but you could be the guy who had the courage to drop Mike Trout early, also.
And that's something that as you grow as a player, to our listeners, you have to really. It's all very specific to your league. Do you already have 3 or 4 injured people, on your roster? Do you have infinite IL spots, whatever it is? So I think I'm going to cut bait in my fifth in Glarf, the 15 team NFBC league. I'm actually setting myself up to be one of your people to not be. So I got to make a move here soon. But moving on to Michael Conforto, San Francisco Giants. He sustained a right hamstring injury on Saturday during Saturday's game versus the Reds. Luis Matos was pulled from his outing at AAA Sacramento, and it looks like he's coming back on up. So last year, Luis Matos, in 253 plate appearances, hit 2 home runs, had 3 stolen bases with an expected batting average of 258. In the deepest of leagues, or maybe in the 12, you tell me, any interest in Luis Matos?
In a very deep league, yes. Most leagues, though, he just doesn't have a lot of juice in his approach. There's not a lot of juice to squeeze out of his approach. He doesn't hit for a lot of power, and he doesn't steal a lot of bases. At least he hasn't. And in the minor leagues over the last few seasons, his steals and power have been down. I think he's he hit 350 in the minors in 2023, and he was over 300. Yeah, he was a batting average asset in the minor leagues coming up, and it looked like he might be something like that last season, and it didn't produce. I think, they've also brought Elliot Ramos, a former prospect of theirs, up. He's getting some run. I'm not sure exactly who's going to be getting all the playing time. I might want to wait to see if either one of them is getting full time, or if there's going to be more of a platoon situation.
Now tell me, does this influence it? Where Hung Ho Lee, this evening, just a half hour ago, I watched him dislocate his shoulder trying to rob a home run on the Sunday night game. So Lee is going and undergo an MRI on Monday, but it's not looking good. So it looks like he may have for the foreseeable future, a path to steady plate appearances.
Lee was leading off for them. So would they put Estrada at leadoff? Would they put Matos at leadoff? Can he play center field? These are the questions. I don't know who's going to. I think Yastrzemski used to play center field.
Yeah, he used to. Yep.
He might
primarily in the corner.
Yeah. They might try to get by with him in center field. I don't know if Matos is a good enough outfielder to play center, but if he is, he's got that sort of contact approach that might work as a fill-in high up in the batting order. That could be interesting. That I think he'd be worth a small bid, absolutely, just to see how he plays out this week. He could be worth something, because with Lee going down too, it's bad news about Conforto. He's been having a good season so far.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts there in the Giants outfield. Really quick, I'm just going to go over a couple more. Austin Riley exits early versus the Mets in this game as well with left side tightness. So oblique, we don't know what it is yet. We're not going to have to wait. But yes, Austin Riley exited early, so you may be looking for a third baseman maybe for next week. We don't know yet. Ha-Seong Kim is dealing with a wrist injury. We're going to see he was hit by a pitch. So we're going to have to wait for the results of I assume they're going to get an x-ray. He underwent an x-ray. It came back negative. Okay, so we'll just see kind of moving forward. He should be day-to-day, but you never want to see that, especially a guy where he's kind of a fringe power guy as it is. And then Grayson Rodriguez, good news. He threw a 30-pitch bullpen session. He still doesn't have an exact timetable when he's going to return from the IL, but that you'd like to see that. And pour one out for TJ Friedel, Cincinnati Reds. He comes back and he gets hit in the thumb with hit by a pitch. So we'll see what the X-rays say for him. And going back to who we first started this all with, Hayden Wisniewski, they said he's heading to the bullpen, Art. They're sending him to the bullpen. Kyle Hendricks is up, but the question is, and I think we kind of answered it, but if you want to put anything else on that, Hendricks, do you think he's going to be up long, or how if you have Wisniewski in a 12-team OC or a 15-team NFBC league, are you holding, or is it just time to get rid of him?
I think he's probably droppable. I don't, he's been starting and pitching well, but Yeah, I think he's probably droppable. Assad is pitching well for them. They're, Tyon is pitching well. Imanaga is pitching well, and then there's Steele and Hendricks is really the only one who might drop out of the rotation. And I just think Hendricks would have to be pretty bad for a while to get out of the rotation. That's just my thoughts on it. Of course, new manager council doesn't, Rossi was the manager last year, and Rossi was his catcher on the 2016 World Series team. So maybe there's not quite the amount of loyalty to count from council to Hendricks, but I think he'd have to be bad for a while to get out of the rotation.
All right, sounds good. And the last one I'm going to talk about, pour one out for Dylan Bundy. He has officially retired.
Oh.
Yeah, that has just came in today. So I know everyone was, at the edge of their seat wondering, where is Bundy? Will he be coming back? The answer is no. But, shout out to him. He had I had him a little bit for those Orioles days where he didn't look that bad. Man,
he was a huge prospect. And
he was the 4th overall pick in 2011.
We had I was in a keeper league, and I remember someone had stashed him in that keeper league way back in the day. Some of those keeper league stashes are retiring now. So it's some of them have been retired for a while. So it's interesting.
We're getting older.
The fantasy past is getting further and further away from my life, but
All right. Well, yeah, that was Dylan Bundy. Yeah, he has retired. And I'm just going to go down the schedule here. There's a couple teams that have 7 games next week. So when you're looking at Fab this evening, or you're setting your lineups for the week, here are the teams that have 7 games next week: Boston Red Sox, Tampa Bay Rays, the Houston Astros, the Oakland Athletics, the fiery Oakland Athletics, New York Mets, Philadelphia Phillies, Pittsburgh Pirates, your Chicago Cubs, Cincinnati Reds, and this little old team called the Los Angeles Dodgers. Man, if you have any Dodgers in your, on your team, you got 7 games coming up. You got to feel pretty good about that. And let's just hop right into the 2-start pitchers. So we have 4 names here. I picked these names because I think they're interesting. I think there are some people going back and forth whether or not they would start this pitcher in a 12-team or a 15-team league, or even in a 12-team. So I want to start with my Detroit Tiger, Matt Manning. Kenta Maeda has a bad virus. Apparently, it went around the organization. A bunch of players were sick.
Wow.
Maybe it's because his fastball is almost non-existent. I don't know. Maybe it is a virus. Maybe it's not. But either way, it paves the way for Matt Manning for a 2 starts this week. First start is going to be at home in Comerica Park versus Miami, and then on the road versus Arizona Diamondbacks. And so far this year, Matt Manning's had a weird year. He's been called up, sent down, but he stayed mildly consistent. Over the 17 innings, he has a 3.77 xERA with a 24% K percentage, but a little high on the walks. It's at 11%. Matt Manning versus Miami at Arizona Diamondbacks. Would you start him in a 12 or 15-team league?
I would definitely start him in a 15. And I think he's startable in a 12 for sure. He's showing a little bit better strikeout stuff this year than he had been showing. His swinging strike rate is up 3.5% in his short sample so far this season. It looks like this is the interesting thing. I go on the Pitcher List website to look at his pitch breakdown. They're saying he has a new sweeper, and that everything he threw last year was just a traditional slider, and this is a new sweeper. And I thought, well, maybe that's why that's his strikeout stuff. StatCast has him having a sweeper last year as well. So I thought it's interesting. I don't think they're Pitcher List seems to categorize that he has a new pitch, and they're calling it a sweeper. But I will say that he's going for strikeouts more. He's producing a better swinging strike rate, and I think he's a solid pitcher. I know last year he managed to pitch very well in most of his starts. I think he was a very good streamer, because not for strikeouts, but for ratios and ERA, because he pitched well in the games where you would think that he would pitch well, where you think, oh, that's a decent start, I'm going to try him. he pitched well, and like the games where you were like, oh, I don't want to start him against that team, he'd get lit up in those games. And so like I think Manning is a pretty good streamer, and I like both these starts for him.
Yeah, I love the at home start anytime we have that. And looking at Matt Manning this evening, so again, hopefully no one from Glarf's listening, but I'm looking to pick him up. I actually drafted him at the beginning of the year in Glarf and TGFBI. I cut bait because he got sent down. But maybe a 3% bid, 2% bid tonight. I'm thinking somewhere around there.
Well, do you think Maeda's coming back?
So that's the question. If Manning shows out, there's absolutely no way that you couldn't, you can send him down again. I feel like they would. I know they just signed Maeda, and they feel like they need to at least give him the first half of the season, right, before you write him off completely. So I think there's a little bit of that Kyle Hendricks respect, in this veteran contracts. But at this point, with the Detroit Tigers bats being non-existent almost every game, they need the best pitching they can. So he may be just a quick call up and sent back down and kind of be yo-yoed the rest of the year. But just from the eye test and seeing Kenta Maeda more specifically, I think if you threw, maybe 2% bid on him just to see. I don't think he's currently owned 33% of 15-team leagues in the NFBC. So, but I would definitely start him next week. 15, definitely a 15-team league and a 12-team. Obviously, look to see if you can find a better matchup, but I don't have a problem with it. Moving on to Chris Paddock, another guy that I am fully invested in, and now I'm actually starting to feel a little bit better about it. Minnesota Twins right-hander. He's going up against the New York Yankees at home. Target Field is kind of a bomb show, but it's still better than the Yankees. And then at Cleveland. So Paddock versus the Yankees at the Guardians. And so far this year, he has 37 innings pitched with a 4.04 xERA, 22 K percentage, and a 5% walk percentage. Are you starting Paddock?
I think that those are tough lineups. I think the Yankees have been pretty tough lately. One of the best hitting teams of baseball.
Yeah.
Cleveland, over the last few weeks, they started off very strong. They have not kept that up over the last 2 weeks. They're a bottom 10 offense. Paddock has produced really good results in the last few starts. His beginning to the season was really frustrating, which is why I dropped him in a few leagues. He wasn't going 5 innings, and then Baltimore knocked him around, and then the Angels knocked him around. But he's been striking guys out and going 6+ innings the last couple starts, and so and it was against Boston and Seattle, were his last 2 starts, and he's got 16 strikeouts in his last 11 innings. So his fastball is really producing well. I don't think his secondary pitches are looking exceptional, and because of that, I worry about these 2 starts, especially that Yankees start. But with the Cleveland start and in a 15-team league, you probably don't have a lot of better options than that. And with the strikeouts he's been getting, it could be a plus strikeouts play. So I'd try to get out of that Yankees start, but I think it could be a good. You could see 10+ strikeouts from these 2 starts.
I could see that too. I probably wouldn't. I would not start him in a 12-team. But in a 15-team league, I am unfortunately forced to start Paddock this week. Moving on to Trevor Williams, Washington Nationals. He's at the Chicago White Sox and then at Philly. Over 36 innings so far. Trevor Williams has a 3.01 xERA, a 21 K percentage, and he's walking 9% of batters. So that's a little bit higher than you'd like to see, but nothing too crazy. Trevor Williams at the White Sox at Philadelphia. Are you starting him in the 12 or 15?
Yeah, I don't know what to do with Trevor. He's been pitching really well lately. Against Baltimore, struck out 8, giving up 2 hits over 5 innings his last start. And, he's not giving up an earned run in his last 2 starts. I still think he's not doing it with. I think he's just getting good results. I think those are tough starts. I probably wouldn't start him. I don't know, even though he's been pitching very well. What do you think?
12 team, no. 15 team, I could see someone, having to start him because just the fact that he does have the 2 starts coming up next week. Now, looking at he's got a 1.06 whip. He's limiting hard contact at a really good rate.
I know.
It's a 15. I think he's an okay 15 team league start that won't. I don't think he could absolutely destroy your ratios, especially at the White Sox. I like that start, and then Philly, you just kind of got to see. But I think it's a desperate move. I would say.
Yeah, and he's had some good stretches in his career where he's looked like a pretty good pitcher, but he's hard to trust because he's been around for a while and just been mostly like a replacement level pitcher. So, to me, the chance that he gets beat around is ever present.
So it's a no can do for Art. He will not be starting Trevor Williams this week. And last, Jose Buto, Mets right-hand pitcher versus Philly and then at Miami. Man, the Miami Marlins have fallen from grace. I don't know if they were ever in grace, but at least they made the playoffs. But Buto so far, 33 innings pitched with a 4.33 xERA, 25% strikeout percentage. I really like that. But the walks, man, he's walking 13% of hitters face. Are you starting Buto versus Philly at Miami?
Yeah, I think I will. The Miami start's juicy, and I'm going to rely on the home ballpark to help him against Philly a little bit. I think Buto is pitched pretty well. The walks, like you said, have been a problem, and he's also gotten pretty lucky on his home run to fly ball and BABIP.
Yeah, his ERA 3.0, xERA 4.33.
Yeah. I think I just find that that Miami start too juicy to pass up. In Philadelphia, away from home, maybe I'm foolish. They have been a very hot team as of late, but I think Citi Field could help protect Buto. Even though, Philly is really hot. They're one of the best teams in baseball the last couple of weeks.
What's interesting, Buto versus left-handed pitchers. 13 of his 17 walks have been versus lefties, so he's really afraid to go against them. So I think that's going to be interesting. So if you have a heavy lefty lineup, you may just want to kind of just proceed with caution, especially if you're in a daily league, if you don't have to play him. But yeah, the guy to keep an eye on there. But let's hop over to our fab pickups. So we haven't done fab yet. So we're going to be scrambling because it's 9:13 on the East Coast here, and we have till 10 o'clock. So the second we're done with this, we're going to probably rush back to the NFBC website. But let's go over a couple guys that could be good fab pickups for this week. I want to start with Robert Gasser, Milwaukee Brewers starting pitcher. He had his first start versus the Cardinals, 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no walks with 4 strikeouts. Got really liked about him. He flashed 3 pitches, right? He moved in the sweeper, the 4-seam, and the sinker. He topped out at 94.8, and he sat around 93. Both his 4-seam, and this is Gasser. Gasser's 4-seam and sinker are essentially the exact same speed, which I always find that interesting when there's no separation between them. But he only gave up 1 hard hit ball, and my biggest question was, will he be staying in the rotation? And the Brewers have already said he is Gasser moving forward as their number 5 starter. They have sent down to Tobias Myers. He was optioned back to AAA. Now, overall, Gasser, he has struggled in the minors, specifically at AAA Nashville. He's not a top 100 prospect on MLBpipeline.com. But next game versus Pittsburgh. So overall, first question, Art, how much are you putting on Gasser if you need fab-wise, if you need a starting pitcher? And then how do you feel about a start versus Pittsburgh?
I like the start versus Pittsburgh. I thought he looked really good against the Cardinals. That sweeper was really sharp. He was moving it in and out, getting good break, catching that outside corner on backdoor. backdoor sweepers versus righties. And yeah, he throws that fast. He throws a four seam a lot, throws it right in the zone to get strikes. And he gets swinging strikes on the sinker because it's the same speed and it has a little bit of movement. So he
Yep.
gets a lot of swinging strikes on that sinker. I thought it looked good. I thought he had a good approach. Of course, St. Louis has not been hitting very well, but I think he's someone, not Christian Scott. I don't think he's a Christian Scott type of bid, but well, let me look. What is his minor league innings? So he went 135 last year.
Pretty good.
Yeah. 2022, he went 136. So, and right now he's at 18 on the season. So,
I mean, in theory, it should be up the rest of the year as long as he
rest of the
pitches
way,
well.
he's got strikeout stuff. Let's see his home runs when he was in the minor. I'm talking myself into higher bids, but I'm convinced that he's not a Christian Scott level bid.
Right.
I'm not.
So you're not spending 300 bones on him.
I'm not doing 300 bones. And Scott looked very good against Atlanta.
Yeah, he did. I sat him in my 10-team home league. I overthought it.
Or, he had one bad pitch to Orlando Arcia in that entire Braves offense. Arcia is the one who actually got him. So, that kind of told me a little bit, like he was able to shut down like Riley, Acuna, Albies. Arcia is the one who took him yards. So he gave him 3 earned runs, 2 of them on that.
Ain't that a bee?
Yeah, but yeah, eight Ks. I think the Pittsburgh start is great for Gasser. What did I'm gonna put a healthy bid on him where I need pitching. But let me see, what does Milwaukee have? Gasser versus Pittsburgh, and then who do they have after Houston? What's their next? Yeah, I don't know. He's under 200, but he's a triple digit bid, I think.
Going triple digits. Okay.
I think so. Because he's got a lot of innings left before he hits last season's innings. What do you think, man?
I think I would probably, the max I would go is 70.
Okay.
And I think a few reasons for that. I think there's going to be people who aren't going to spend as much. I think there's like psychologically, I think people aren't ready to spend as much money after these last few weeks. So I think you might be able to, more so than the last few weeks, maybe sneak in a little bit lower of a bid to try to get your guy. There's always going to be the person you can't account for who does $175 or $200 or $350, which we saw for Tyler Black in a TGFBI league. So we don't know about that, but I would say somewhere around 70. I think that would put you in a good spot there. But it's tough because you got to remember he's in that ballpark.
There's some itchy trigger fingers though.
Yeah.
Some I know that in the main event at least spending has been down so far this year by about for each by 10. I can't remember exactly, but for each about $10 a week or something like that. So you never know who's been sitting with like a dry keg ready to fire.
Yeah.
I mean, I like him, but the fact that he was a big prospect and then he wasn't a huge prospect anymore, I don't know what that says about him. The eye test against St. Louis looked really good. I thought he looked really good. So, but yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I'm convinced he's not Christian Scott level.
I agree with you there. Let's look at Trevor Rogers. So lefty Marlins pitcher. He's going at Detroit. So he's going to be going he's been struggling a lot so far this year. A 5.35 xERA. Strikeout percentage is only 17.2. And I don't know if you saw his what he did after he got taken out of his last game, but he he gave a quick 2-piece to the Gatorade cooler. So, he's having a tough day at the office. Is there any desperate part of you in a 15-team league that may want Trevor Rogers at Detroit?
Not at all. I don't. Miami stinks, so the chance for a win is no bueno either. So, yeah,
Trevor I can't argue.
Yeah,
I can't argue with you there. I think you're exactly right. And then last pitcher I want to talk about, Taijuan Walker. Philadelphia Phillies coming back here. He's got 18 innings pitched under his belt versus the Mets. $3-4 maybe for him. Any part of you want some Taijuan Walker?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's a good streamer. Throughout his career this season, he's been giving up home runs. He only had 3 starts so far. A lot of home runs.
So far, 18.2 innings pitched, 15 strikeouts, but a 1.34 WHIP. Yeah. He's keeping his walks down, but man, you look at his StatCast data, everyone's barreling the ball off him. So not striking people out, not getting outs in general. So it's probably a no, but there's I saw someone pick him up last week, so it was like, I don't know, it's just something there. As of right now, I don't think so. But yeah, I think that will do it here. Do you have any more guys you want to talk about before we head out of here? Any Mitchell Parker love at the White Sox this week?
I've had Mitchell Parker on a few of my teams. I picked him up after his first big week, where he had his first 2 starts. Actually, he had 2 really good starts, and he's been pretty decent. I don't know. I didn't see his most recent start, but he has maintained not quite the level of his first 2 starts, but pretty good numbers. I think Parker's a decent major league starter. Who's he set up to pitch against next?
He has the White Sox.
I would definitely throw that start.
Yeah, that's why I had to throw it out there, because I mean that's pretty. I know it's at the White Sox, so it's not as great. I'd prefer it to be at home in Washington. But even last time out versus the Orioles, 5.2 innings pitched. Yeah, only gave up 2 earned. I mean, only 3 strikeouts, but you'll take that against Baltimore, and he only had 3 earned against the Texas Rangers. So he's slowly doing. He's under the radar because of being on the Nationals, but strikeout percentage 20.6, so under league average there. But he doesn't walk guys, and I love to see a 24-year-old come into the majors with good command.
What right? Is Taj Bradley available in any of your
I picked up Taj Bradley in my 10-team league. I was able to get him right before he got off the IL, so I absolutely loved his outing. Taking a quick look, where he may be rostered. 91% rostered in 15-team NFBC leagues. Nearly any big league he's already gone, but. Yeah, I mean, if you can, he goes up. He's at Boston next week, which obviously you never want to see your pitcher go into Boston, not one of the toughest places to pitch. But as a Bradley believer, and rostering him, it's great to see him come back. 6 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts. I'm encouraged. What about you?
I was encouraged. I hadn't had a chance to look. I thought he might. Because I knew Skeens wasn't available anywhere. I knew I wasn't going to get a chance to bid on Skeens. I thought Bradley might be available in some spots. Because am I crazy? Has it been this season that there are less people available? Like more people. Like if you played last season, but you haven't played this season, you're not available to be picked up until you play this season. And I thought that was
always been that way.
I thought that was only for rookies before.
You mean like veteran, so Major League Baseball players who 2023 played in Major League Baseball
like
games.
Taj Bradley, and
he was drafted in all of my leagues. In the NFBC format where that is, that is the case. But if he's not. How much we kind of did this last week when we talked about Christian Scott, how much we thought he may go for. I guessed around $200-300. We saw $400 bids for him. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. For Taj Bradley in a 15-team league, what would it take? How much money do you have to put down to get?
Well,
I
Taj
assume you got to almost empty out the bank.
Taj has a track record though of last season, and this is like part of the psychology of the bid. Like Taj's track record from last season will probably dampen some of his prices, so you probably don't have to go to Christian Scott levels to get Taj. I think if you went to Christian Scott levels, you'd get him.
Yeah, so like anything over 200, you think you're going to get him for sure?
Well, maybe you never know who's going to be in your league, but I don't think he will get the enthusiasm of a rookie. You know, a guy who's like an exciting new toy, like Christian Scott, and possibly Robert Gasser. I mean, we could be underestimating Gasser bids this week as well.
Yeah, I'm going to say somewhere around 50, 60, top end 70, only because we're not sure if he is going to stay up for the foreseeable future. As he has, like we talked about, Robert Gasser does have his next start. The Brewers have already said he's definitely going to start next week. But yeah, overall, we just don't know. Any love for Jack Leiter versus the Guardians?
No, I didn't like Jack Leiter's first start. Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from him until I'm probably just gonna miss it if he does well. But yeah, what about here's a pickup for you.
Hit me with it.
Abraham Toro.
Man, Abraham Toro. Yep. So Oakland, third base, second base. He's 39% rostered in 15-team leagues. He's been absolutely on fire. He was on the Astros, and he looked like he may be pretty good. And then he got traded over to Seattle, which actually gave him an opportunity to play. And with that opportunity, he fell flat on his face.
Yeah,
and he's kind of been floating around in the minor league sense. But I don't have his stats up in front of me. But I had. And this lets you know how busy my weekend was. I've been watching some Oakland Athletics baseball, and he's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
What do you think?
He's hitting over 400, and he's getting everyday playing time. Oakland's offense has been on fire lately.
Brent Roker, man.
Yep.
Machi.
Yep. Bladay's kept it up. He's had a good couple weeks. Oakland's looked really good. If I had needed some infield help, Toro would be someone who I'd be looking at.
Yeah, especially with that second base, third base eligibility.
Yeah,
I mean that's huge right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I'm trying to think of who else. Like,
looking at corner infielders. So Kyle Manzardo, if he's had a slow start, but I think if he's out there, 10, 12 team, probably worth a stash. He's already gone in 15-team leagues. I went to the Tigers game this weekend versus the Astros, and John Singleton continues to hit first base for the Astros, and he's a big boy. Dude, we had some pretty close seats, and he was he's on the on-deck circle. He's like basically in my lap. That's a big boy. I'm expecting probably $8 to $12. For a fat bid for Singleton. I don't know if I'd go over that. But it's a hot bat on a team that needs it.
Yeah, I was thinking. I'm trying to figure out if there's any Tampa Bay outfielders. Richie Palacios is someone who I'm not sure is getting the playing time, but I like what he's been able to do. He's got 5 steals in the last 2 weeks. A couple guys. Caballero has 6 steals in the last 2 weeks. If you need some speed, Tampa Bay's been running a lot.
What about Jose Siri? You want any of that?
No. He's Siri has not been very good this year. And his defense has been what's kept him going, but I'm not sure if that's keeping him in the lineup as much anymore. What do you think?
As of right now, it's a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
Just as of right now, because I just don't know. I think there's a lot more outfielders. Darian Blanco, for instance, for the Kansas City Royals, he's been hitting. He's got a home run, 10 stolen bases, and he's had 42 plate appearances, but he has 10 swipes. Yep. So he's barreling the ball at nearly 12% of the time. His XBA is 235, so it is kind of like it's an all or nothing approach. But he only strikes out 21% of the time. He's a lifelong minor league player. He's 31 years old, so He's not, but he had 24 stolen bases last year. This year, slashing 289, 357, 447. So he's getting on base. He's getting you swipes. How much would you put down for Darian Blanco for the Kansas City Royals if you need an outfielder this week?
I think I'd like $10, something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 8 would get him.
Yeah.
I think that's smart.
Yeah. Something like that. I think, yeah. See, yeah, I like him. He's stealing whenever he gets on base. He's running
every time. Yeah. And they need to be able to produce as much offense as they can with the Royals, especially because the team's looking pretty good so far with Seth Lugo, currently probably the Cy Young in the American League. Him or Skubal currently. It's insane. Davis Schneider, 83% rostered. So obviously most people already have him already. Outfielder, second base for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's hitting the cover off the ball as well. And looks like he has forced the Blue Jays' hand in making him play. So I'm looking if he's out there, I'm looking for like a $10 bid, $11. I'm hoping to get him there. And Whit Merrifield, he's getting more and more playing time too. Yep. Trey Turner outfielder, second base eligibility, 39% rostered. How much would you put down on a beautifully aging Philadelphia Philly, Whit Merrifield?
I think that they've made the transition where he's getting the playing time with Turner down. This is the opportunity that I've been waiting to pounce on with Merrifield. I think he has he's a solid pickup right now, especially for middle infield for the next 6 to 8 weeks. I think that's worth $20, 15, okay. $20. Yeah.
So far in 79 plate appearances, he has 2 home runs, 4 stolen bases, 257 XBA. So his days of obviously hitting 280, 300 may be gone. But man, it's interesting to see a 9.5 K percentage with an 8% walk percentage. So like the veteran he is, he'll find his way onto the base pass and still in the 92nd percentile in sprint speed.
Yeah.
I'm 35 years old. He's giving me hope. He's 35. We can still be fast.
And the hope, and he could play himself into a full-time role when Turner gets back too. This could be like a rest of season thing. So I think that there's a chance that this could be a good pickup for the rest of the season, not just for the duration of Turner's injury.
All right. I'm just looking down a couple outfielders. I was looking at Austin Hayes. He might be coming back here shortly. Any interest in Austin Hayes, or have the young Orioles just booted him out of playing time?
I think Hayes could be a lefty platoon. Kowser's been great, but he has not hit lefties yet.
True.
So I think Hayes' best chance for playing time is as a lefty platoon bat with Kowser. So I have no interest in him anymore.
I'm going to be putting a couple bucks on Andy Ibanez, Detroit Tigers second baseman. Every time he plays, he's getting 2 hits. Excuse me, he's getting 2 hits. Andy Ibanez has been it's kind of just shows how bad the Detroit Tigers offense has been, that when Andy Ibanez comes back into the lineup, we're a little bit excited. But I mean, so far he's in 50 plate appearances. So not just nothing, 50 plate appearances, has an XBA of 305. He's barreling the ball 12% of the time. He has 2 home runs. He's got a 340 batting average. I'm looking to maybe put $8, $9, $10 on him, especially if you're rostering Kevin Biggio in your middle infield spot, or Brandon Rogers, or any of these players. You're still waiting on Brandon Lowe to get back. I think he's fine, for the foreseeable future. I don't know if you've spent as much time as I has watching Andy Ibanez hit, but
I haven't spent as much time, but I have looked at a bunch of Tigers box stores and been like, wow, Ibanez is looks like the best hitter on this team, because his name is he's got crooked letters on his in his box score every day. He's got 2s. I think he's been playing well, just box score scouting him over the last couple of weeks. He's in something I want to keep an eye on. Is he have a chance to get everyday role there?
And that's the biggest thing, playing time's one of the hugest things you all have to put into perspective as you're doing your evaluation each week for FAB or free agency. But we're seeing a little bit of life from Colt Keith, the young second baseman for the Detroit Tigers. That's pretty much gonna determine, whether or not he's gonna be seeing as much playing time as possible. But what did he have over the last few days? He's looked a little bit better. He's not striking out.
Yeah,
he's walking 8.3% of the time. So like the plate skills are there. He just looks overall kind of overwhelmed. Still no home runs. He hit a ball 384 feet today in the largest part of Comerica Park. It's a bummer. It would have been out in most parks. You got to feel for him on that. So as of right now, I just see Colt continuing to struggle. So leaving the door open for Andy Ibanez for as much playing time as possible as the Tigers offense continues to struggle.
Yeah, with Keith, with the Detroit being competitive this year and Keith having 3 options left, they could just put him down and give him, they could just put him down and let him try to figure it out in minor leagues. I know they gave him that contract, but
what a weird extension.
Yeah.
It's weird because Colt Keith was not some stud. He wasn't Jackson Holiday ripping the cover off the ball, and you needed to hurry up and sign him before he realized how good he was. But it's the Detroit Tigers front office, so you never know what to truly expect. But Art,
I think we covered it.
I think we're ready. We have another 24 minutes for us to do our actual fabs ourselves. Yep. So I think that's going to be super important. But yeah, thank you for joining. For all those tuning in online, watching us live, it's been an honor to host the show after doing so many different shows. Don't worry, Eric will be back soon. David Mendelson will be back soon as well. So it won't just be us. But for Art, for me, we're gonna make like a bread truck and we're gonna haul these buns. All right, all right, guys. See you next time.